first of all, what we need as product managers, right? We want to A/B test to make sure that the user intent and the conversion is higher. Okay, for example, this is a mock site, and if I scroll down here, we have this call to action, try it for free. And I want to try a few different variations here. Now, if I just simply toggle, this is Flagsmith, and now I enable this test. And once I enable it, and by the way, I put it here as 100%, so we'll always get the variation. And if I refresh the page, now I get the Start Now free button. Now, as you noticed, it's somewhere a bit long down the line of the site. So if I used an experimenting tool and sent an event right when the page loaded and the user got the variation, it's still not true because he didn't see the variation, right? So we don't know the true impact. That's why we really need to make sure that the trigger of the event that we send to our analytics tool would be only when visible, right? So if it was down the page, I would do only when this element was visible to the user, because then he saw or interacted with the variation and not necessarily just got the split of the A/B test. So that's one really critical point. The second point is we store that value in a cookie and we send a single event called experiment started. This would look something like this. And if we look at the object, it would basically include the experiment started with the $sign, which is how you send an experiment into Mixpanel. We have two more that we need, which is the variant name and the experiment name. Okay, this really enables us to do something really cool because we can create a single board. For example, this one I created, which shows my main KPIs. What am I looking to measure? What am I looking to see that it didn't hurt, right? The fact that someone clicked on that button 100 times versus 120 times doesn't mean it's better unless it also impacts the conversion rate or the other KPIs. Okay, so I have this funnel, sign up to purchase, and my main KPIs. And now when I go to the experiments report, I can easily select the experiment based on the tracked experiments. So this will actually take the field based on the experiment name. And when I select the board that I created and the control, which is what I have in the variant name. So I have my control and variant A, and now I can see all my metrics in a single view, understand the rate, what is the var A rate, what is the lift, what is the confidence rate? All those things are critical. Now, an additional thing I can do with this experiment name value is I can create a cohort, right? I can create a cohort based on experiment name, experiment started, and a filter where the experiment name is the CTA and the experiment variant is the control. Now, critical to say when it started, right? So I started the experiment on the 10th. And what I'm looking for here is all the users who got the experiment started in the last 3 days, where the experiment name is CTA. And now I can say this as control on CTA A/B test. Okay, now once I do this, I can go to other reports, even this one that I just created, and say, okay, now break this down by those cohorts.